And they look at stuff like that as a threat. And if they look at black people who got the power to shut down a riot, they say this can start one too. So we got to kind of look at this guy and kind of keep a leash on him or discredit this person. That's another thing. Because when they see a black person has a lot of influence, they got to put some dirt on them so that they can kind of say, hey, if you go out here and get too bad, we're going to tell people about the little sex crimes that you guys have been accused of.
Do you think that it's gentrification can work if the natives, if the people can share in it?
Yeah, but that's the whole thing of gentrification. Gentrification is an act of warfare. Slavery was gentrification. Okay, you got to understand. They used us to build up a nation so they can be comfortable, and then they could move us somewhere out of sight, out of mind. That's all gentrification is. It's a form of white supremacy where you get the people that you're exploiting to make it comfortable for you, and then you move them somewhere. Going back to the network thing, the UPN network got started like that. They got black shows because they understand we make things hot and popular. Once it gets hot and popular, they see how to work the algorithms. Okay, let's put some black shows over here. Let's phase them out and get some white shows. They did it with Fox, UPN. They do that with brands, clothing brands. I think with Timberland, you know, black people made that hot. And they were acting funny style towards black people for a long time. Even some of the liquor brands were acting funny towards black people until we start saying, okay, we'll get our own liquor deal. So then they wanted to get act right. You know? So there's always been that.
Okay, so but say for instance, if you have like in the neighborhoods, you know, you've had black families that own their properties for 50, 60 years, right? Where, you know, it took a dive because obviously, you know, the comps may be $80,000. But because of gentrification, because they brought in Whole Foods and what is it, the coffee shop, you know what I mean? Now their comps have shot up, you know, 80%. But also now those property taxes go up, which is oftentimes is a problem, you know. But if they're able to keep up the property tax, I mean, could it be looked upon as a good thing? Yeah,
but again, when they want to get you up out of there, man, they'll go to extreme measures. Let's go back to L.A., man. Out here in L.A., South Central, they got a lot of the black businesses out of there. They would raise the rent, especially in Inglewood. They was making the rent sky high. Why? They got the stadium over there. So now that raises the property value. They want more whites over there in that area. So what do you have? You got a brother like Nipsey Hussle, who starts a business over here on Slauson and Crenshaw. They got a train station going down Crenshaw. So it's like big money is happening in that area. The property value is going to rise up. Also, we got the Olympics coming out here in a few years. That's going to rise up everything. People don't understand how they were trying to get Nipsey out of that area. They don't understand the depths of what the LAPD was doing. They had an operation called Operation Laser, where they were focusing on Nipsey's shop. They were doing surveillance on his shop, putting nuisance injunctions on him. That's another thing they do down with black businesses. They say if there's gang members around, if there's crime around, they'll put a nuisance injunction on your business. So they were doing stuff like that to Nipsey. They were working with the city to try to get that plaza to boot him out. Nipsey turned around and bought the whole plaza. Bought the whole thing. Right after that, he mysteriously gets shot in broad damn daylight, and it takes them 3 days to find this guy. You know what I'm saying? So that looked funny style to a lot of people. What's also interesting, black people were trying to buy the Crenshaw Mall. They had a bid. They let a white company come in with less money and get it. What's interesting, the guy who was a part of that bidding, who got the contract, he was an executive at Warner. A lot of folks don't know this. And Warner owns Nipsey's catalog. I don't know if that's connected. I don't know. When I just see all this shit all together, I'm like, okay,
strange and provocative.
It's a little bit too strange for me. Some of this stuff is too strange, but y'all just have at it. Put it together and make sense out of it.
I thought Magic Johnson was trying to buy the Crenshaw Mall.
Yeah, I think he was. He had the theater over there. He had that theater over there for years. And again, when we start trying to buy stuff and own stuff, all of a sudden, deaths and charges pop up. I talked to Bill Cosby. Just called me earlier, right before I came in. I talked to Bill
Cosby.
Yeah, Bill Cosby. I talk to Bill Cosby all the time.
Oh, so that little flex, right?
I know.
You see what I'm saying? Just it's nothing. You know what I mean? You know, Bill Cosby. You know, we talk all the time.
But He was telling me about when he was trying to buy NBC and some of the funny style stuff that was going on. They had the money. They started giving him all types of excuses and runarounds. And right after that, his son gets killed on Mulholland.
I remember that.
By a Russian white supremacist.
Wow.
A lot of folks don't know that. Right after that, then they sent the ransom note to Cosby, trying to extort him out of money with this other woman claiming to be his daughter. All of that stuff happened at the same time.
Wow.
The woman, could y'all remember?
Yeah.
When the woman actually went to jail for trying to extort him.
Yes.
Her mother is part of that whole sex bull.
Okay.
Where they said that, he drugged or whatever. Her mother's a part of that. So they've been going after this dude. A lot of folks don't know this stuff.
Wow. So do you think that's what's happening with Puffy, with Diddy?
I think so too.
Okay.
I think, because I don't like people jumping the gun, because people were like, why are you caping for Puffy? No, I'm not just caping, but Puffy, what has he been accused of? You raided this man's house and didn't charge him with nothing. So we got to look at that. Sounds like they were trying to find something that he had on somebody else. Okay. You understand? And also with Puffy, when you have black people who are in certain positions, they kind of have to make an example out of them and kind of get that resource back from them.
Buck breaking.
Yeah, they got to buck breaking.
Yeah.
They, like Eddie Griffin said, they don't let a lot of black men out of here clean. They're going to try to make sure you don't pass down no generational wealth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you think that? Do you think that it's a conspiracy to kind of take these powerful people down, or do you think they just fucking up?
No, I think it's 50-50. I think that, and the reason why I say it's 50-50, that because yes, I think there's always a looming threat of the powers that think they can be, or whatever, because I just feel like we can transcend all that. However, yes, I do feel like that there can be a concerted effort, because there is power and influence. There's power in cultural influence, and because Black Americans specifically, going way back to the beginning of the conversation, but we really set the tone around the world.
Yes, we do.
So if you say even with Africans, they even will, take on our culture, our lingo, the way we dress, everything, our likeness. So we definitely, with knowing the cultural and the international influence that we have, it's not too far-fetched for me to think that if I'm running a business and I know that I can generate millions of dollars. I mean, we see it even with TikTok. Okay, for example, let's look at the TikTok ban. They literally have not been able to provide any reason as to why they want to ban TikTok, besides we don't think that it should be okay for a foreign entity to have the influence. That's all we keep hearing, is the influence over our American culture. So we understand how influence can be monetized. We understand how that can affect, every facet of life, and how it translates. Your energy is currency, it's money. So I don't think it's far-fetched to think that people say, no, you got to get him out of here, because we can gauge just based off of what you've done and what you can do. We can make out X, Y, Z would happen. Yeah,
black influence has always been a threat. Any black person who is influential, they have to control them, because they understand, especially with foundational Black Americans, because we come from the soil, we can impact more people. Even before the internet, we could learn a dance in Kansas City, and that dance will be in California in about 3 days without the internet. We knew how to communicate with each other, and we knew how to influence each other, and we still know how to do that. And that can be a good thing to the dominant society, and they can look at that as being a bad thing. As we saw with the George Floyd riots in the country, the whole country turned up, and they look at stuff like that as a threat. And if they look at black people who got the power to shut down a riot, they say this can start one too. So we got to kind of look at this guy and kind of keep a leash on him, or discredit this person. That's another thing. Because when they see a black person has a lot of influence, they got to put some dirt on them so that they can kind of say, hey, if you go out here and get too bad, we're going to tell people about the little sex crimes that you guys been accused of.
And they understand generational power, perception, everything. That's why I think it's important to look at history from that lens of just analyzing, because it will repeat itself, especially because we do have the media, and the same way it can move faster for us, it can move faster for them. And they can, when I say they, once again, the powers that be, the systems, everything, even Hollywood is an extension of the government, but it's like looking at a sales forecast to me for the next 5 to 10 years, like the USA is a corporation. So it's not far-fetched, once again, to say, okay, listen, in the next 50 to 100 years, if we want to be in this position, this is what we have to do. These are the factors, because it's a business, and we are all just human capital walking around.
Yeah, but there's always been a thing to stop black generational wealth, because they understand black kids with an economic equality, you're going to thrive. They understand that economic deprivation causes a lot of issues. So they don't want anybody to be able to pass something down. That's why they take our homes. This is where gentrification comes in, because people can use those homes. You can go get a second mortgage.
Exactly.
You want to go help your kid in college.
Exactly.
Your house is money. Your property is money.
Launch a business,
You
a
can start
family business,
real
you
time.
know.
And also some of the family members, they going through something, they come stay at grandma's house for a year and get back on your feet.
That's a fact.
They don't want that.
That's a fact.
So this is why they come in with this eminent domain, gentrification this. We're going to buy you out and we're going to do urban renewal. We're going to turn this into a landfill and move you into these nice housing projects. This is just temporarily, and temporarily stays, you're there for 30, 40 years.